few years ago, I started what is popularly called a healing journey, and I wanted to kind of do a series about how I was able to go from someone who had a lot of anger, unresolved trauma, I guess. Nothing egregious happened in my life, but not as many pleasant things happened either. So, just kind of working through reconnecting with my emotions and being able to kind of like psychoanalyze myself and figure out what the root cause of issues I had in my life were. And by no means am I perfect now, but I've come a really, really long way. So down the line, I'm going to be talking a lot about getting in touch with your emotions and kind of connecting what you're thinking and what you're feeling and what you're maybe trying to ignore, all that sort of stuff. And so I think to get to a place where you're kind of actually listening to yourself, you have to quiet some of the noise around you. And so I think you have to look at what is kind of a waste of your time and what maybe doesn't really do you any good, and those are probably intertwined a bit. But I noticed when I was starting this, some things that I kind of pulled back from was one was like social media and like following like celebrities or influencers. When I was younger, I was like super obsessed with e-news. I loved knowing what celebrities were doing, what they were wearing, like who was in and out with who. Like I was obsessed with that stuff like all growing up. And social media, it's so accessible to like keep tabs on all these beautiful and rich and famous people. But like what purpose does that have in my life other than probably me making me feel bad that I don't have as many luxuries as they do? So I just kind of started, and I feel like that's happening more and more, especially with how the economy is right now. People are kind of pulling back from putting celebrities on a pedestal or anything because there is such a disparity in like the average person's wealth and a celebrity's wealth, even though it's like really not that vast for some of them. But anyways, that's beside the point. My point being though is that it gave me nothing to like be keeping tabs on this. So unfollowing people that I don't actually know, or like, yeah, I guess unfollowing people that I don't actually know was kind of one of the first things that I did. It doesn't have to be everyone, but just decreasing it significantly, because it's like, why do I need to be following someone from like a reality show that I saw like 3 years ago that just posts like teeth whitening videos or something? You know what I mean? Like, what is that doing for me? So that I kind of peeled back from. Another thing that I started doing that I think is very important is that I stopped listening or watching any type of true crime type of video or podcast or whatever. And I know that's like something that's very beloved, but for one, how can that be healthy? Like I didn't choose to go into like a criminal justice field. I don't have the support system or knowledge, like it's not like it's a job for me to engage with that type of stuff, and God bless the people who it is, because that's heavy. So why would I want to engage in hearing horrible things that happen to people while I'm in my home and like probably, I don't know, washing dishes or cooking dinner or something like that? If I'm trying to create peace within myself and thus peace within my home, I don't think, and I probably should have prefaced this earlier, I take everything super seriously. I connect everything to a deeper thing, and I read too much into absolutely everything. And I'm also kind of on the woo side a little bit. So I just don't think that if I'm trying to have a happy, peaceful environment, listening to something heinous is going to help get me there. Additionally, if you're a woman, 9 times out of 10, the story is going to be very triggering, whether it's something that you can relate to. And I'm not saying there's not like male victims or anything like that, but I feel like the cases that tend to get sensationalized are, oh, and her ex-boyfriend got back into the house, and you know what I mean? Like, there's elements of almost every story that, for me, was like fear-inducing, like, oh my gosh, what if this happens to me? Or triggering, because, like I kind of said, I've had some not great stuff happen in my lifetime, so in this lifetime, and probably the others. But I just mean, I don't think it's very healthy to be engaging with something that makes you feel fear, whether that's a fear that's connected to something in the past or a fear of something that could potentially happen in the future. I don't really think that that helps to create. The whole process of this is trying to create a peaceful environment so you can actually hear what's going on in your head. And I don't think engaging with that type of stuff is helpful. I also think, and I'm going to touch on this later in the series, about kind of connecting back to the rest of the world. I feel like social media kind of gives us a false sense of connection with others, and we actually don't have that, because, like, do you know your neighbor's name? It gives us this false sense of connection. And so I think taking steps to try to see the good in people and spreading love helps it get received back to you. So if we're really thinking about what true crime is, we're deriving entertainment from something horrific that happened to someone. And I understand the argument that the popularization of true crime stories raises awareness, but I just don't really think that it is ethical all the time, or morally right, or however you want to phrase it, to have these people who are profiting off of the story of someone's worst day or week or months of their lives. Like, especially if the person's like since passed, their perpetrator has already been caught. Why do we really need to know all the details of like something horrible that happened to someone? And I also don't think that you genuinely learn anything. Like, I feel like for a while I had this notion that if I knew enough stories and stuff, that it would teach me how to respond if I was ever in some kind of horrible situation. But I really don't think it does. Like, what are your options? Trying to get away? You know, like, how can I really learn something new after watching or listening to so many of these videos? There's only so much that you can do, and I'm not saying like to not fight back or anything like that. I just mean, like, it's not really gonna, I used to think it would teach me something. It doesn't teach you anything. It does, obviously it makes you aware of the potential dangers in the world, but do we have to be like, yeah, the danger's there. Like, I don't get close to men in public. Like, you know what I mean? I watch my back, but there's still only so much you can do, unfortunately. So it's like, that aspect of it isn't worth engaging with that type of material. So I just feel like overall, what is the benefit? And again, I know people like enjoy listening to it, but like, think of what you're actually saying. I enjoy hearing the stories about someone being dismembered. You gotta work through that. I really don't want this to come off as judgmental. Like, if true crime's what gets you out of bed in the morning, like, so be it. But I'm just doing all of this to say that if you're somebody who's trying to get to a better place mentally, there's just zero benefit to engaging with that type of material. And again, this was a few years ago that I really stopped watching any of that stuff. And I do think it was a bit more popular then. So maybe this won't be as relatable, but I do think that was a big thing. And even television as well. I used to watch SVU a lot. Why? That's not doing me any good. It's just not. I'm not saying, I don't want to sit here and make an argument it should never be made or whatever, like, that's not my call. But I personally don't choose to engage with it anymore. And that's coming from somebody who used to love all that stuff, but it wasn't good for me. And maybe it's not good for you either, is all I'm saying here. The next thing that I did after some time of disengaging with different media, whether that be following someone or watching something, is realizing that it was better for me to just pull all the way back and delete a lot of my social media. So for the past at least 2 years, maybe more, I've only had TikTok as social media, and I don't like follow anybody that I know in real life on TikTok. And also I don't really follow people on TikTok either, like some, but for the most part I just like seeing random videos. I realized that I always felt worse when I was getting off of Instagram. That was like my main form. I didn't really have that much social media. Now that I think about it, really the only other social media that I had was Instagram. I had deleted TikTok. I had deleted Twitter years ago when it was literally still Twitter when I deleted it. I've never had Facebook. So really Instagram was my only other form of social media. But I would always feel worse when I got off of Instagram. I'm like, what am I gaining from having this app? For me, a bigger part of the issue, like, yes, like you see people and like people that you know and maybe they're doing better than you, at least so it appears online and that sort of stuff, which maybe that, you know, for me, it was like, that was part of it. Maybe it's a bigger part of what makes you feel bad for you. The real catalyst for deleting Instagram for me was that when I have a son, and when he was younger, I would just get bombarded with so much like mommy content, and I had too much anxiety when he was young, and I just really didn't have good discernment versus of what was actually like helpful to know and what was more like towing the line of fear mongering, and it made me a little kooky. I feel like I think I didn't have any item that was like plastic in the home for a little bit. Yeah. So I was like, you know, this probably isn't good for me, and I deleted Instagram. And that was a great idea, and I haven't gotten it back since. Again, this is a couple of years ago. So there could be various reasons why a certain social media app maybe isn't doing you much favors. Maybe just unfollowing or blocking a handful of accounts would be enough for you to have it be not so draining, I guess. But that'll be, you know, it depends on everyone. Everybody's different. So all this to say, getting rid of as much excess noise and potential triggers that are around you from sources that are 100% optional, I think is one of the best places to start when you're trying to slowly work your way into becoming a more healed version of yourself. And like I kind of touched on, once you kind of get rid of the noise that's optional, then it frees up a bit more space to see what is around you that maybe isn't so easy as just like a click of a button to get rid of, but might be good to kind of break away from. And really, I suppose what I'm getting at here is relationships with other people, friendships, maybe family members, people in your life who are potentially doing more harm than good. And I feel like I should just kind of leave it there, because I think that I could make I have a long block list. So I think I should just kind of leave things here, because that'll just maybe kick off the next video going into deciding if a person should be in your life or not, and kind of navigating how to disengage and have conversations with people when you feel like you're really not getting what you need out of a certain relationship. You have to kind of acknowledge that what you hear in your head isn't just your voice, it's the voice of literally everyone you've ever heard speak before. That is so, so, so much. And the more we can quiet that, the easier it is for us to hear what our actual thoughts are, and not just the thoughts that pop into our heads because it's associated with the last thing we saw when we turned on our phone. You know what I mean? So once you can quiet and hear yourself more, that's when it becomes easier to connect with your emotions. And once you can connect with your emotions, you can see where they lead and what crappy thing that happened to you when you were like 9 is still a problem for you today, and then you can work through it, and then you can be a little bit happier, is kind of where we're going with this. So thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.